Okay, I think this challenge problem from White Rose Maths amounts to cruelty, but because here I am at about 25 past 12, having just figured it out, because it took me a while. It certainly wasn't an easy one, but that's hopefully I've got it right. It's quite neat once you look at it, but it certainly wasn't easy to come up with a solution. Okay, the ratio of cans to bottles of pop in a shop is 4 to 5. 20 cans of pop are sold and 35 bottles of pop are sold. The ratio of cans to bottles of pop in the shop is now 8 to 9. And the question we are asked is, how many bottles of pop were there in the shop to start with? Now, the first thing I'll have to tell you, I find it quite difficult when they're talking about, so here we've got cans and we've got bottles, but because we've got cans of pop and bottles of pop, I actually find that quite difficult to keep track in the problem as to which bit of information is which I think if you are writing questions for children, I think you do need to bear that in mind. I know these are this is not a criticism of this particular question. I know these challenges are for us as parents and teachers, but I think if you as a teacher are writing questions, if I, as an adult who's fairly confident around bar models and doing these sorts of questions, I'm quite confident, but I did find that quite difficult. So you need to bear in mind these extra challenges. I'm saying that because I've been looking at some other questions this evening from different writers that have had where the English has been harder than the maths sometimes. But there we go. Right, let's crack on with this problem then. I've promised you a solution. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to draw one long bar that shows this ratio of 4 to 5. Okay, so um, and I'm going to start over here. Right, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and this is relating to cans. Okay, and then I'm going to sort of do a block in the middle there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'm going to fill in the lines. I'm trying to keep my voice down so as not to upset the neighbours. Right. Okay, so this is bottles. I can draw a bit of a line in between so that we can see. Okay. What do we know? So this is this ratio. This is 4 to 5. And I'm just going to put in some information here so I can keep track of it. How many cans were sold? Well, cans sold was 20, and I'm just going to put this here. 35 bottles were sold so that I can keep track of that. Right, so the way that I did it, and it definitely didn't come easily, what I did notice was that because actually what I first tried to do, let me show you what I tried to do because you will figure out what was difficult. So what I was trying to do was this, was if you can imagine, I'm just going to 1, 2, 3, 4. So my start point was sort of this, where I was doing this. Okay, so I had cans and bottles, and I thought, well, if I sort of subdivide these, okay, until the point where I can take off portions so that I end up with, I want to end up with, remember, with a ratio of 8 to 9. So I want to go to 8 to 9 from 4 to 5. But it it never ended well. So if, for example, I thought of dividing this by 3, yeah, because if I divided it into 2, then I ended up with 8 portions and I wasn't taking anything off, so that didn't help me. And then when I did this, I could end up with 8. So we've got 6, 7, 8. So one where we would that would represent the 20 that was sold, and then there we go, 9. That would have represented the 35. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I ended up having to divide 35 by 6, which wasn't getting me very far in terms of having something to work with. So anyway, I couldn't get this to work at all. So I was then having to think about how else I could approach it. So what I did notice was that 20 is divisible by 4 and 35 divisible by 5. So I thought maybe to do it this way. Now what I'm going to do here is take a portion off each one that represents 5. Okay, so I'm taking off 5 here, taking off 5 here, taking off 5 here, taking off 5 here. Okay, and I'm also, see, these are all the same size. I'm also going to take 5 off here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, and 5 here. Okay, with me so far. Then I'm going to use a different color now. Actually, I'll just use the pink, because I'm going from, remember, I'm going to this ratio was going to end up being an 8. So actually, if I divide, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 portions. If I divide that into 2, I've now got 2 equal sized pieces. So that's 1, 2, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and then we'll do the same here. So okay, so these two, each of these two is worth the same as those. Same again. Same again. Same again. And then we'll just pull here. Okay, so what have we got here? So this is 5, 10, 15, 20. We've taken the 20 off here. Okay, and then 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. We've only taken off 25 so far, and we have to take off another 10. But also what you notice is what we have here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, where we need to end up with a 9th. Okay, because remember, this ratio ends up being 8 to 9. So we need to end up with a 9th bar, which means that the whatever's taken off here must be equal to 10. Okay, that's 10 that's taken off here, to make that up to 35, the 35 that's taken off. Does that make sense? Okay, so so then what does that tell us? Well, when we took 5 off a bar, when we took 5 off, we ended up with these two equal sized pieces. That must mean that this 10 must be equal to this. So we now know the value of all of these. So that's 10, 10, 10. Okay, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay, I could fill them all in. I'm getting, there we go. I hope you're following me here. All right, so we know then we can work anything out we want now. So how many bottles of pop were there in the shop to start with? Well, we still have our, so we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So we have 80 plus 20, okay, equals 100. And then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 plus 35 gives us 125. So in total, there must have been, so we've got 100 plus 125, and the total is 225. So that's how many bottles. Oh, sorry, that's how many cans and bottles. I told you it was late. How many cans and bottles were in the shop to start with? Where are we with bottles? 125. That's our answer. Okay, so 125 bottles of pop. I think I will need them tomorrow morning in order to stay awake. Anyway, I didn't know. I wasn't confident that my solution was going to stay in my head until the morning. So here you have it. I hope that helps.